Recording now. Great. So again, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining in for this session, or if you're watching this video later, thank you for taking the time to understand a little bit about what your puppy's needs and requirements are, and from the right experts. So today we're going to be looking at puppy diet. This session is brought to you by, of course, the pack and the brands that help us, and our expert for this session is Arpita Thakur, who is a certified canine nutritionist. So as you know, there's a sort of common misconception that during their early sort of months of puppyhood, puppies' diets need to be really sort of, Cerelac, curd and rice, as I was saying. While that is true in the first 2 months, after that you need to sort of start providing them the right species appropriate, balanced sort of array of nutrition to make sure that their growth and development happens very nicely during this time, right? So for this reason, we have our expert Arpita joining in today. Before we also get into it, as always, this session is brought to you by two brands that we work with. First is Pets of Paradise, who make puppy meals themselves, called under the brand name Barkins, and our in-house wellness brand called Honest. So both of them have been kind enough to give us, of course, so two parents joining in will be, if they answer the MCQs that Arpita has prepared, will get a 500 rupee coupon that they can use across anything on the pack store. Besides this, there are also certain other benefits for everyone who's joined in today. So I'll tell you a little bit about that once we start. So like I said, today's session is about puppy diet. Before I introduce our expert for this session, a little bit about the pack. I think a lot of you who are here already know about us and are already a part of our community. But for people who are joining in for the first time, we are the pack.in. We help you raise happy and healthy dogs. The way we sort of do it is through a lot of online classes like this, a lot of them that are free, a lot of them that are paid, with experts. Also, whether it is nutrition, we'll get you a nutritionist. If it's behavior related issues you're facing, we'll get you a behaviorist. Grooming. So our main goal is to help you get the right knowledge that you need to raise your dogs. So we'd have that. We have a wonderful community that a lot of you are already part of, where of course it's moderated. We have a team of moderators who sort of help you out with all the right resources, but we also have a lot of pet parents who come in and help each other and learn and sort of raise their puppies together. Besides this, we also have the pack store, which is an initiative we launched last year. It's going to be close to a year now, in 2-3 months, where we handpick a lot of products that our experts recommend, or are recommended by pet parents that we see in the community who have used, who know it works, and then we have put them together on the pack store. So all the goodies that you can win today, you can check out the pack store. We have a very nice catalog, and then you'll be able to, whoever wins the goodies, he'll be able to shop from there. So our session today, like I said, our expert is Arpita Thakur. Arpita has a day job. She works in finance, but her journey into canine nutrition also began with her two indies, Tanya and Snoopy, with whom she also struggled a little bit with their fussiness in their diet, and she took it a step more than most pet parents do, and she went and learned a lot about it. And in fact, she got a diploma in canine nutrition from the British College of Canine Studies. Besides this, I think that was 2019 or 2020, if I'm not wrong. But after that, she's done a lot more of advanced courses to learn a lot about dogs. And the one reason we recommend is that Arpita to all, she is our in-house canine nutritionist. She, of course, each dog has its own nutritional needs that she tries to meet, but she also keeps in mind the accessibility factor for parents as well, right? So it's not always possible for us to prepare a whole buffet of meal prep for our dogs, right? So how do we sort of account for both the dogs and the dog parents is something that she tries to work through in her diet plans, so which is something that we really appreciate. So she's our expert for this session, and I think before I hand it over to her and before she'll take you through the very nice deck, we also have one pop quiz question that is coming up that I will tell you about. So this question is brought to you by Barkins. Like I said, they are our official dog food partners for this session. The reason the pack has collaborated with them is because all of their recipes are really curated, are science-backed. All the ingredients that they also choose are high quality human grade ingredients. I mean, even their chicken is sort of antibiotic free and so ethically sourced, and all the right things that we would want for our dogs, but prepared to stay a little longer. So if you're interested, you can check out. So we have their broths, which are really, really, I mean, every dog that I know who has tried it has loved it. So you can try their broths, especially in the summers when dogs are not really drinking a lot of water and they need that little extra hydration and nutrients. The broths work great. They also have puppy meals. They also have grain-free chicken, because a lot of times our dogs are allergic to a lot of different sort of rice and roti and wheat. So grain-free chicken is an option available. We also have their fish meal coming up. So interesting things that your dog would like, can indulge in. So the question that is going to be coming up on screen is sort of, they are helping us make that accessible to you. So I'm gonna have it on screen. Now here are the rules of the game. The question is going to be on the screen, has been curated by Arpita, which is something that you should know about your puppy's diet. It is an MCQ, so it'll be A, B, C or D, and whoever gets the answer right, like just say A, B or C, D or D in the chat box, and whoever gets it right gets a 500 rupee coupon that they can use on anything on the pack store. All right. I will have it on the screen. Can I just very quickly get thumbs up if you're still with me and you're ready to answer the question and win goodies for your dogs? Okay. Thanks, Swapna. Okay, let's go. The question is, your dogs need calcium. We all know that our dogs need calcium for growth of their bones and muscles, but they also need the calcium to be in a good ratio with phosphorus for it to actually be used by the body. So what do you think is the right calcium to phosphorus ratio? Is it 2:1? Is it 1.2:1? Is it 5:1? Is it 10:1? Right? Okay. We see a lot of Pankaj is saying C, 5:1. Alan is saying B, 1.2:1. Akshay is saying A. A lot of them are saying 2:1. Okay, it's a mixed bag. Okay, a lot of A's, B's, and C's. Not a lot of B's, I think. But yeah, Arpita, what's the right answer? Oh wait, you're unmute. Oh, let me just unmute you. Okay. Can you still see my screen?
Okay. Yes. So the right answer is B, 1.2:1. I think only one person got it right.
Yeah, I think Alan got it right. Congratulations, Alan. You have won a 500 rupee coupon that you can use for your puppies. To get your puppies something really, really nice from the pack store. What we're going to do is, I'm just going to, as soon as we're done with this, I'm just going to send you a message where you can ping us on that number and let us know. We'll need a few more details to help you with the code. So yeah, we'll do that, and congratulations again. With that, I think, Arpita, over to you. Do you want to go
Great.
through the topic slides before?
Yeah, let's go to the topic slide. Thanks, Shivani, and hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome and a big thank you to everyone for joining. I mean, this is one of the most important, I would say, masterclasses that I've conducted. And I genuinely believe it is also one of the most important conversations you can have in the first year of your dog's life, because there are so many nuances, and you can see, right? I mean, only one person got the calcium to phosphorus ratio right, which is one of the most important minerals and one of the most important ratios for dogs, especially large and extra large breed dogs. So that's why I keep saying that puppy diet is one of the most important things to take care of and to figure out. Okay, the screen keeps going, Shivani, for some reason. Okay, so quick housekeeping before we dive in. I'll talk for roughly like 35-40 minutes, maybe a little longer, because this is a longer presentation and there's a lot of ground to cover. And like Shivani mentioned, then we'll open it up for questions. And if something pops into your head during the session, please drop it in the chat, and we'll come back to it at the end. Also, I mean, there are no silly questions here. Feel free to ask whatever you want around nutrition, because nutrition can feel really overwhelming to understand. And you'll get answers to most of the questions while I run you through the 20 long slides. Um, but for the rest, I mean, yeah, I mean, we can discuss it at the end during Q&A. And what I may not be able to advise on is the exact dosage or like specific supplement recommendation, as that is difficult to kind of determine without a proper one-on-one consultation. Okay, and before we dive into the science, I just want to acknowledge is like if you are here, it means like you care, right? So you are trying to do the right thing, and that in itself already puts you ahead of most people who bring puppy home. So whatever you learn today, even if it is something that makes you go, oh, like I've been doing that wrong, I didn't know this, it's okay. Like don't beat yourself up. Some aspects may be difficult to understand too, because and in some aspects there are a lot of calculations involved too, but we've kind of sort of tried to dump it down and break it up, and also like created some tools around things for you to get to the answers quickly and without having to go through the hassle of calculating too many things. Okay, so here's a roadmap for the next hour. First, I'll talk about why puppy nutrition is fundamentally different from adult nutrition. Like this is the main foundation. Then we'll go through the 6 essential nutrients every puppy needs one by one. This is a long topic spanning some 6 to 7 slides. Then we'll move into the practical side, like the feeding schedules, because we get a lot of questions around, how frequently to feed, how much to feed, portion sizes, and yeah, I mean, how often your puppy should eat. Then we'll talk about choosing the right kind of food for your puppy. So we'll discuss about kibble diet and then wet food can diet or home cook versus raw food and the trade-offs of each. And then we'll cover the most common mistakes puppy parents make during the first year of the dog. So, and finally, we'll open it up for Q&A. So I think let's get into it. Let's start with why puppy nutrition is different. Okay, so I mean, this is one of the most important concepts because people think that puppies are like small dogs, right? So just small adult dogs, I mean, and they are, but the fact is that they are a completely different nutritional animal altogether. A lot of people think that puppy nutrition simply means like giving smaller quantity of adult dog food, whether kibble or home cooked, but that is not correct. Like puppies, they are going through a crazy growth phase. So their bones are growing very, very fast. Their muscles are developing. Their brain is developing. Their immunity is maturing, and even their gut is also learning how to handle food over time. So here's what's happening inside that tiny body is in the first 12 months and 18 to 24 months in case of large and extra large breed dogs, a puppy can multiply its birth weight 40 to 50 times, right? 40 to 50 times is a very crazy growth period because like let's imagine if for a human baby, like if your human baby did that, he or she would weigh around 130 to 150 kgs by their first birthday. So that's insane level of growth that a puppy goes through. So during this phase, food obviously plays a direct role in how well the puppy grows, from their bone strength to their muscle development to their immunity, skin, coat, brain health, and just everything. So that is why puppy nutrition has to be planned for growth, not just appetite. They need twice the amount of calories that an adult dog would probably require, twice the amount of nutrients also in some cases. And there are 4 core non-negotiables for a growing puppy. So first is higher protein than adult dogs. Second is more calories per kilogram of body weight. And third, a very precise calcium to phosphorus ratio. We just saw it's 1.2 is to 1. It doesn't necessarily have to be just 1.2 is to 1. It can be 1.3, 1.4, but around that range. We'll come back to this. We'll discuss this more in detail as we go along. And the fourth non-negotiable is essential fatty acids or simply essential fats. And there are 2 types, omega-3 and 6. We'll discuss this as well in detail. And these fats are important for skin health and wound healing and brain health as well. So when we feed a puppy, we are not just asking, is the food healthy? We are also asking, is the food supporting controlled balanced growth for puppy or not? And the word controlled is really very important here. Like we do not want puppies, especially large and extra large breeds, to grow too fast. I know it sounds very counterintuitive, but their growth has to be controlled and properly balanced over time. because overfeeding and excess nutrients, especially calcium, can put a lot of stress on their developing bones and joints and musculoskeletal health. We'll dive deeper into this as we go along. Let's first discuss the six essential nutrients that puppy needs. Right. So these are the six essential. Carbs is something that's not really essential, but that also has a functional use here. So every diet, whether it's kibble, whether it's home cooked, wet food, or mixed feeding, whether kibble, home cooked mixed, or kibble, wet canned food mix, whatever, they must provide six essential nutrients. So protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, carbohydrate, and water. And I want to clarify the term essential here. So, what exactly does essential mean? So, a nutrient is classified as essential when the animal cannot synthesize it in sufficient quantity from the precursor compounds and therefore obtain it from preformed from the diet. What this means is that the dog cannot really create these nutrients inside the body itself, right? So that's why it has to be supplemented from the diet, either through food or through supplements. So that's why they're categorized as essential. So for dogs, this includes 10 out of 22 amino acids, which makes protein, two essential fats, which is omega 6 and 3, and then there is a defined list of vitamins and minerals as well. So as long as your dog is getting all of these essential nutrients in sufficient quantity, your dog will not get deficient, and then nutrition related issues will also not happen. And that's why it's important to provide all of these in sufficient quantity. So the first is protein. Protein, we all know it's the building block of the body, and puppy is needed for muscle, for organs, for immune cells, even for enzymes, that is for digestion, then for hormones and for growth as well. And puppy diets usually need higher protein than adult diets. Like AFCO has established that protein should be a minimum of 22%, 22.5% to be very specific, on a dry matter basis for puppies. So, first of all, what is AFCO? Right. So AFCO is it's an organization. It's an American organization that has set specific nutritional standards for pet food companies, and they have adopted this from NRC, which is another organization who has done years of research on nutrition for dogs. So, basis their research, they have built these nutritional standards for pet food companies and for kibble brands and all, and everybody follows those standards because obviously it's based on years of research and science. And what is dry matter basis? I just mentioned that it should be on a dry matter basis, right? So DM or dry matter means that it is calculated by removing the water content from the food before comparing nutrients, because otherwise you will not be able to compare different foods. Like you'll not be able to compare kibble from wet food to home cooked food to raw food or whatever, any other type of dehydrated food. So for that, there has to be a like common denominator, which is like dry matter calculation, which is simply done by assuming that all the water from the food is removed and the calculation is done accordingly. But what they have mentioned is the minimum that should go in pet foods, right? Why do they mention minimum is because that is something that makes the pet food affordable also, right? Otherwise the cost would be very, very high, because protein is something that is a costliest ingredient in any pet food. So practically it should be higher. Practically it should usually be higher because minimum does not mean ideal, and it only means the lowest level required to prevent any form of deficiency in a formulated pet food. And protein is the most important nutrient for dog. We just discussed, right? For puppies, it is important to build new tissue. It is important to repair cells. It is important to support immunity, and to also fuel like rapid and proper growth. So I'll take you through more, like how much protein is required. What does this 22.5 dry matter basis really means for home cooked diets? Because I'm sure a lot of you are feeding home cooked diet as well. So what does it exactly translate to? We'll get into it when we discuss protein in detail. Next nutrient is fat. Again, it's a powerhouse. There are two essential fats for puppies, plus it's a source of energy as well, and it's important for good skin health and shiny soft coat and all that, plus brain health as well. Third is carbohydrates. Here the percentage kind of varies. Like you'll hear a lot of debate online about carbs, and the truth is carbs are useful for the brain, and fiber is essential for gut health, the fiber that comes from carbs, right? So while it is not essential nutrient in the strict biochemical sense, but carbohydrate inclusion is like really functionally useful provided it is fed in moderation. We'll discuss this also in detail. Then the third one is vitamins and minerals. Sorry, fourth one. These come in trace amounts, like really small amounts, but it's just because it's small doesn't mean it's trivial. It's actually very, very important because every single cellular process in your dog's body kind of depends on this. So let's say bones, teeth, nerves, blood, none of this will work properly without minerals. And things like immunity, blood clotting, vision, this now it will work properly without vitamins, and that's why vitamins and minerals are very, very important. I'll tell you quickly what the essential vitamins and minerals are. In vitamins, vitamin A, the B complex. The B complex means B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12, and folate. Right? That's a B complex. Then D3 and E. These four are essential: A, B complex, D3, and E. In minerals, there is calcium, phosphorus, right? Magnesium, sodium chloride, which comes from salt, potassium, then iron, zinc, copper, selenium, and iodine. These minerals are essential. Apart from this, others are something either it's created in the body or they get it from somewhere, like it's created in the liver or something. So others are not really essential categories, but they anyway get it from food. For example, choline is one of the B complex that they get from um, that if you feed eggs, they'll get it. Then vitamin C, usually they get it from fruits and vegetables. So these were the vitamins and minerals, and then water. Water is something, again, it deserves a separate emphasis because it is 70% of your puppy's body. And also it's one of the most overlooked nutrient, and even a 10% loss of body water can be fatal to dogs. So water is again another really, really important nutrient, but let's discuss all of those nutrients in detail one by one. First being protein. Shivani, next slide. I hope you guys are following through and I'm just not like.
Yes, Arpita. I'm not able to send a thumbs up, but yeah.
Yeah, great. Cool. So let's dive deeper into every single nutrient that we just discussed. So let's start with protein. So see, I'm calling protein the architect because quite literally it draws the plans for your puppy's body. So every cell, muscle fiber, every antibody, enzyme, hormone, everything is built from amino acids, and amino acids come from protein, right? So literally what happens is that let's say your dog has egg or chicken, which has protein. It gets broken down in the gut to amino acids. Then it goes inside the body. Those amino acids which are absorbed then form new proteins. So this is literally the process. So like we said, like I said, there are 22 some amino acids in total, but not all of them are essential. Around 10 of them are essential, like meaning your puppy cannot make it inside the body. So it has to be given through food. So they have to eat it every day. But the problem is, even if one of these 10 essential amino acids is missing, new proteins will not form. And eventually, there may be like protein deficiency, and the growth will slow down, and the coat will get dull, and the healing will get slower. So immunity dips. So all of these things start happening, but it's a slow process over time. Like by the time they reach adulthood, you'll see that there's muscle wasting happening, or you'll see that the immunity is impacted. It's all something that starts with protein deficiency. So protein is not simply like a number on a bag. It's really important for your puppy's health. But how much? We just discussed. So APCO says minimum 22.5% on a dry matter basis, but that's the floor. Good puppy food sits between 26 to 32%. And I personally like to see puppies eating around 30 to 40% mark, especially in the first 6 months. But this is all on dry matter basis. Okay. Now, if we translate this to home cooked food, right? If we translate this to how much protein should be present in the home cooked, it is 8 to 12% protein in home cooked food. What this means is for every 100 grams of food, protein should be 8 to 12 grams. So when I say 8 to 12 grams, it doesn't mean 8 to 12 grams of chicken or 8 to 12 grams of egg. It means the chicken or the egg or whatever protein source is present should give 8 to 12 grams of protein. So you can see it in the chart here, right? This says chicken breast 22 grams per 100 grams of chicken. It provides only 22 grams of uh, protein. So for 100 grams of food, if you feed around like let's say 30 to 40 grams of chicken, it will give 8 to 12% of protein. I hope this is clear. We'll get into details of this as well. We've made this even easier for you to calculate, but just remember that 8 to 12% protein in home cooked food is what's required by weight basis. So, I mean, sources matter a lot as well. I mean, just as much as percentage, right? So, in case of kibble, I want you to look for things like I want you to look for like named animal proteins on the label. So there should be chicken written in the ingredient. At least the first or second ingredient should be chicken or turkey or lamb or fish. If you see the word meat, like only meat without a name attached, just meat or was meat byproduct or animal digest, like don't go for that kibble because that's industry code for whatever ended up in the rendering plant or factory that week, right? So you don't know what it is. It could be anything, like any dead animal. So far as home fed puppies are concerned, you can like rotate two maybe proteins each month, right? Or even per week as well. So chicken this week, maybe mutton or fish next week, but two animal protein sources. Why? Because every protein source has a slightly different amino acid profile. So rotation gives your puppy the broadest possible nutritional foundation and also prevents protein specific intolerances as well. So in this chart, you can see like all food items are complete protein sources except paneer. Paneer has one amino acid missing, which is arginine. And it's same is the case with other plant-based sources as well. Let's say dal or quinoa or tofu or whatever plant-based sources are available. They all have one or two or even more amino acids missing, and that's why it's recommended to feed animal-based protein sources as a main protein source that can be supplemented with then plant-based protein sources as well. So I hope protein is clear. Next is fat. Uh, Again, I mean, fat has been wrongly demonized first in human nutrition, then a bit in pet nutrition as well. But fat is something that's really important, especially for puppies. Why? Because fat delivers more calories per gram compared to proteins and carbs. So, gram for gram, fat is like more than twice as efficient a fuel or energy source for puppies. And this is really good for them because their energy requirements are very high, like 2 to 3 times higher than adult dogs, depending on what stage of growth they are at. Um, so, but fat also does so much more than energy. Like, let's talk about the two essential fats. One is omega 3, which is nothing but EPA and DHA. You will see these on supplements, you'll see these on kibble bag or other stuff. Some other supplements available in the market, like a multivitamin, will also have omega 3, or they'll write it as EPA and DHA. These are really essential, these are important fats, these are essential. And EPA and DHA you will find in fish oils like sardine oil, salmon oil, or you'll see if you want to go for a vegetarian source, there's something called algae oil. So algae oil also has EPA and DHA. DHA is it's a structural building block for brain, even for retina. So studies have shown, and this is peer-reviewed data, that puppies that are fed adequate DHA learns commands and tricks measurably faster than puppies who are not. So we're talking about a smarter, more trainable dog that is fed DHA in like throughout their puppy stage. Then second is EPA, which helps calm down inflammation. So which means healthy skin barrier and balanced inflammatory response, healthier immunity basically, and fewer itchy patches and fewer hot spots. So if your puppy's coat is dull or their skin is irritated, the first thing to look at is omega 3, that is EPA and DHA. And then there's another fatty acid called omega 6, or it's called linoleic acid. Either one will be mentioned on the bottle. This is also essential. Now, this comes from either hemp seed oil, or you can also go for sunflower seed oil or pumpkin seed oil. Some amount it's also present in chicken as well, and even a little in eggs as well. But the ideal sources for this would be hemp seed oil or sunflower seed oil or pumpkin seed oil. So, and omega 6 is also something that's important for skin health and glossy coat as well as wound healing. So this was fat. Now I also get a lot of questions around is coconut oil good? So yeah, I mean it's a good addition, but it's not essential because coconut oil is a saturated fat, and omega 3 and 6 are unsaturated. So these are the essential category. Coconut oil is not necessarily essential, but then it's a good addition. Next is minerals. So I'm going to slow down on the slide a bit because this is the single most consequential topic in puppy nutrition. I would say, and you can see the calcium to phosphorus ratio in this one. So let's talk about calcium first. Um, so as you can see, over supplementing calcium is the most damaging thing that you can do in puppy care. Not just over supplementing, even under supplementing is equally dangerous, but over supplementing is particularly dangerous for like large and extra large breed dogs like your Labradors and Goldens and Shepherds and Danes. For them, excess calcium during growth phase causes like permanent skeletal disorders, which may not show up immediately, like hip dysplasia and elbow dysplasia, osteochondrosis, arthritis. These are not might happen things. These are like documented outcomes, and obviously, no one tells you this, and you think more calcium means stronger bones, right? But see, the puppies' body cannot really regulate excess calcium. It's not developed to that level during growth stage. And what happens is that when you're feeding excess calcium, it kind of deposits in the wrong places in the body, and the joints kind of pay the price for it for the rest of your dog's life. So you need to know exactly how much calcium to feed your dog, right? Exactly how much calcium and exactly how much calcium to phosphorus ratio to feed. So here's the rule to follow. It's important to get the calcium dosage right, right? And second, to get the calcium to phosphorus ratio right. So calcium to phosphorus ratio, we just saw it is approximately 1.2 is to 1. That's it. Like that's the magic number. So for example, you're feeding 1200 mg of calcium. The phosphorus should be around 1000 mg. That would make it 1.2 is to 1, right? If you look at the table on the side, the calcium should sit between 1.2 and 1.8% on tri-matter basis. Again, you don't need to make any calculations. I'll tell you how to do it. Then phosphorus also sits between 1 to 1.6. This is something that is you will find in Kibble. So Kibble is properly balanced for 1.2 is to 1. But then how to calculate this dry matter percentage, which is quite difficult and complex, right? So the easiest way is to calculate as a percentage of calories. So the rule of thumb to go for is for every 1,000 calories that you're feeding to your puppy, feed 3,000 mg of calcium. That's it. Like that's the golden rule. So let's say for a golden retriever puppy of 15 to 16 kgs of weight, the daily calories for that puppy would be roughly 1,000 calories. So that golden retriever would require 3,000 mg of calcium, and calculate then accordingly, right? So let's say the dog needs 2,000 calories of food, right? The calcium would obviously be double of that. So 1,000 calories that is to be fed 3,000 mg of calcium. But for that you need to get the calories right first, right? Like you will need to know how much calories to feed your dog. So for that, I mean, we have a tool available. I can just put a link here, and you can go and check it out, and it gives you not just how much calories to feed your dog depending on your dog's age, weight, and multiple other factors, but also how much food to feed, like a rough estimate of it. Just let me get the link. Yeah, it's there in the chat, right, Shivani?
Yes, yes. We can.
Okay. Great. So that was calcium. And so far as phosphorus is concerned, I mean, if you're feeding kibble or if you're feeding meat-based diet or even grains, it's naturally high in phosphorus and low in calcium. So if you feed muscle meat, if you feed kibble, you already have enough phosphorus in the diet. Uh, if you're feeding home cooked meat or grain or whatever, obviously calcium source is not available. So you have to add calcium to balance it out with the phosphorus. And the cheapest and safest way to do that at home is to ground eggshells, right? Eggshell is pure calcium carbonate source. So if you look at commercially available calcium supplements for dogs, most of them have very little calcium, like 200, 300 mg per tablet. And let's say you have a 15 kg golden retriever that requires 3,000 mg of calcium. It's impossible to meet that with just those tablets, right? You'll have to feed 10 tablets in a day, which is insane. So, eggshell powder is a much better and practical option to meet the calcium requirements for dog. But if you're feeding kibble, then don't feed the entire 3,000 mg because a lot of it is already present in the kibble. So quickly on other minerals as well on this slide. So iron is important. It moves oxygen through the blood. Zinc is important for skin health, immune function. Copper is important uh, because it's important for connective tissue and for iron metabolism as well. Iodine, again, very, very important for thyroid hormones. All of these, again, are present in kibble. For home cooked, we'll have to like create a properly balanced diet. We'll get to that. And these come naturally from a variety of food items. Like if you're feeding organ meats like liver and other organ meats as well, or eggs. So most of these minerals that we just discussed, iron, zinc, copper, are present there. If you're feeding chicken plus one more meat source like mutton or red meat, again that has a lot of these minerals already present. So but here, I mean, for puppies in particular, following the calcium to phosphorus ratio is really, really important. Next, okay, let's get back to water first, which is one of the most overlooked nutrient again. So your puppies need roughly 50 to 60 ml of water per kilogram of body weight per day, which is simply like your dog's weight in kgs multiplied by 50 ml. That's how much milliliter of water your puppy should have in a day. And this can be a mix of fluids too, right? You can feed some water, some buttermilk, broth, stock, all combined together should make up this number. So for example, a 5 kg puppy would need roughly around 5 into 50, which is 250 to 300 ml of water in a day. A 20 kg puppy would need around a 1 liter of water, 1000 ml or 1 liter of water, right? Again, four practical rules to follow here is one, uh, fresh clean water available at all times, not just meal times. Two, use stainless stools, ceramic bowls, not plastic, because plastic is something that harbors bacteria in tiny scratches and can also leach chemicals in the water. Third is wash the bowl every day. That slimy film at the bottom that you see of the water bowl is it's biofilm. It's nothing but bacterial colony, literally. And fourth, understand the signs of dehydration as well, particularly during summers. Something like if you start seeing a little sunken eyes or pale or sticky gums or loss of skin elasticity, these are all signs of dehydration. And in heat, especially, dehydration becomes heat stroke, and heat stroke becomes fatal very, very quickly. So, again, this is one of the signs to be careful of during summers in particular. Uh, Vitamins, I mean, we've just discussed. Vitamin A, important for vision, immunity, growth. Vitamin D, important for calcium absorption and bone formation. So even if you're feeding enough calcium to your dog, but if you're not feeding enough vitamin D, it's not going to get absorbed properly. So again, vitamin D is something that goes with calcium. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. It protects the cells from damage. So that's also one important vitamin. Then B complex. B1, B2, B6, B12, folate, niacin. These handle energy production, blood cell formation, and nerve function. Again, food sources for this quickly. Liver is a great source of vitamin A. Then liver is also an excellent source of all of the B complex vitamins that we just discussed. So as long as you're feeding a little bit of liver, like in moderation, um, all of the vitamin A and B complex requirements are met, right? Then vitamin D3 is like it's not very common in food. Mackerel fish is one fish that has a good amount of vitamin D3. Even a little bit of it is present in other fish as well, like sardines and anchovies. But other than that, it's important to supplement this, especially during growth phase. Vitamin E, again, food sources are very limited. Sunflower seeds, there is some vitamin E present, but other than that, this has to be supplemented in the diet. But the good news is that if you're feeding a properly balanced, fresh diet with variety of, animal meats, organ meats, vegetables, and some grains as well, most of the vitamin requirement is kind of met naturally. But if you're feeding a deficient diet like curd rice or, just like little bit of chicken and rice, obviously there are multiple vitamins and minerals which are going to go missing. We'll discuss that in detail in the mistakes that puppy parents make section. Okay, so there are some other additions as well that you can make. We just discussed liver, which is like nature's multivitamin, right? It's loaded with, like we just saw, vitamin A and B complex, but it is also loaded with some amounts of copper and some amounts of iron as well. So liver is like it should be fed every day in moderation, not a lot because it's also very rich. So it has a lot of vitamin A, which can be toxic to puppies. So roughly around 5% of your meals, of your dog's meals weight should be liver, not more than that. Eggs, again, they are complete source, and by complete protein source, I mean it has all of the amino acids present, all the essential ones. Plus, it has choline as well, which is important for brain development. So roughly around 2 to 3 boiled eggs a week for a medium-sized puppy would be great. You can feed it every day as well, but as long as your puppy kind of tolerates it properly. Like you can feed one each day for a medium-sized dog, or ideally it should be like alternate days. Then vegetables should be like 10 to 15% of the bowl, not a lot, because a lot of fiber is not good. Some amounts of it in moderation is good. So you can feed different kinds of colorful vegetables: pumpkin, carrot, spinach, beetroot, zucchini, bottle gourd, beans. So these bring good fiber and good bacteria in the gut, plus antioxidants and natural plant pigments as well. Like you must have heard beta carotene is good for eye health and all of that. So, but puppy's gut cannot tolerate raw cellulose, right? So if you must have observed, like let's say you fed a bean or you fed raw carrot, it must have come out on the poop as is, right? Because they cannot tolerate raw cellulose as is at all. So make sure that you're cooking the vegetables properly, like mashing it properly or finely chopping it, or you can also feed puree or in the paste form as well. That is much better for them to be able to absorb all the nutrients well. Then fish oil, we talked about this important omega-3 source, right? And DHA source as well. And kelp. Now, this is important. It's a natural source of iodine. Kelp is something that's usually added to kibble, or it also comes in supplement form. And iodine is an essential mineral we just discussed. And this is something that's important for thyroid health. And unfortunately, obviously, it's missing in the home cooked diet. But of course, don't overdo it as well, because iodine in excess is as harmful as iodine deficiency. But I will not be able to recommend an exact amount of iodine, or or I will not even be able to make a recommendation, because this is something that requires a lot of calculations before I can see the gap of iodine and make a recommendation. And finally, a good multivitamin may be needed in some cases, especially when the diet is like very limited, or multiple nutrients are missing in the diet, like in predominantly chicken or rice diet or curd rice kind of a diet, or a vegetarian diet. In that case, it's better to add a good multivitamin which covers all the amino acids and vitamins and minerals. But this does not mean that every puppy needs a multivitamin, okay? Especially like if your puppy is already eating a complete and balanced kibble diet, right? Then adding a multivitamin does not make any sense, because it's only going to overload your puppy with vitamins, and excess is also not good. So use a multivitamin only when there's a real gap in the diet. Like if you're feeding excessively, like vegetarian diet or uh, curd rice or chicken rice kind of diet, only in that case a good multivitamin will be needed. So these were some of the additions that you can make to the puppy's diet. Next is how to create a bowl. Okay. So these are like, to be very honest, it is quite difficult to properly balance a puppy's diet without doing a hell lot of calculations. But if you were to ask me what is the nearest best way to do this right, like this is the simplest formula, starting formula that I would give you, which is a 50-25-15-10 formula, right? And this is by weight of the cooked meal, like by weight of the food that you're feeding your dog. So, first of all, the base, let's talk about the base. The base should be around 50% of lean cooked meal. If 50% is not possible, at least like make it 35 to 40%. And you can use any animal-based protein source, so chicken, red meat, fish, right? Or you can use paneer if you are vegetarian, though to be honest, paneer alone is something which is not ideal as primary protein source, because we just discussed it's missing essential amino acids, and it's also very high in fat. So paneer can be just used as a support, but the main should be any of the animal based protein, whatever is possible for you. So that would be half the bowl. This also includes the organ meat. So a little bit, that 5% of liver that we discussed, this includes that as well. Next should be a energy source. Ideally, carbohydrates, because a lot of the breeds cannot tolerate too much of fat in the diet. So 25% of any cooked carbohydrates. So carbohydrate sources can be any grains like rice or even oats or some form of millet. In millet, there are two types, which are two kinds, which are I usually recommend because these are easier to digest. One is little millet, or it's also called samai rice. And second one is foxtail millet. Again, this is a little bit lower in fiber and it's a little easier for puppies to digest. Then another carbohydrate source is sweet potato, although I wouldn't recommend feeding it 25% of the diet, but a little bit for support can be added. Or even if you want to feed uh, a protein source, then quinoa or dals, lentils is also a good option, but not too much. Again, your puppy will not be able to digest it too well. So a quarter of the bowl should be this. This is like a slow burning fuel that keeps your puppy, going between meals. So this is your 50% plus 25%. Then comes 15%, which is vegetables. And vegetables shouldn't be more than this. Pumpkin, carrot, spinach, we just discussed, bell peppers, cauliflower, broccoli, beetroot. These are great options to add. See, I mean, your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and all, if you feed it too much, your dog will get flatulent and be gassy. So these need to be limited. Even beetroot and spinach need to be in small quantities. The larger base can be pumpkin and bottle garden carrots. These are usually well tolerated for in puppies. But again, like I said, make sure it's like finely chopped and mashed and everything. And these are like great sources of fiber and antioxidants and gut health. And lastly, 10% fat, which means oils. Basically, we discussed omega 3 and 6, and then you can also add some coconut oil or as an extra fat. So 50, 25, 15, 10. Like memorize this, tattoo it, stick it to your fridge. This is the foundation of every home cooked puppy. But this does not guarantee that your dog's meal is now fully balanced. Like there may be some vitamins or minerals still missing here, but at least this is a good start to go on. And a lot of the vitamins and minerals would be there. Even protein would be in sufficient quantity, and even the essential fats would be in sufficient quantity. So this is how you form or feed a bowl or create a bowl for your puppy. So next, this is something that we get asked a lot in uh, almost all master classes, which is frequency. How often to feed the puppy? Okay. So again, this is not a fixed number. It changes as they grow. So from 8 to 12 weeks of age, that is 3 months of age, 4 meals a day standard, right? And by 4 meals, I mean 4 main meals, because their stomachs are tiny and their metabolism is super high during this period. So they need frequent top-ups. You can go up to 5 meals as well during this period. Then from 3 to 6 months, 3 meals a day, which is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between you can give 1 to 2 snack as well. So some dogs don't tolerate. I mean, some dogs they get a little acidic in the morning time and they throw up bile, right? So for them, in particular, very early morning, some snack and late night snack is something that's recommended. Then from 6 to 12 months and even longer for large and extra large breed dogs, drop down to 2 meals a day, right? For small breeds, may still need 3 meals here until 10 months of age because your metabolism tends to be higher. So you can go up till 10 months of age on 3 meals. So, I mean, now 4 golden rules here for how to feed regardless of the frequency. First is feed at the same time every day. Like obviously puppies, dogs, adult dogs, senior dogs, they are all creatures of routine. So predictable meal times would regulate their digestion, it would regulate their bowel movements, and also it would make house training infinitely easier. So yeah, I mean feed at the same time every day. 15 to 20 minute rule is if your puppy hasn't finished the meal. I mean, some pups can be fussy at times. If the puppy hasn't finished meal in the first like 20 to 25 minutes, like take away the bowl. This is not forcing or punishing the puppy. It simply helps create structure around feeding and prevents food from sitting out for too long as well. Then transition slowly. This is a golden rule for puppies. Anytime you're introducing anything new to your pup, even if it is within the same Kibble brand or between flavors or introducing new home cooked ingredients, especially meat, do it over 7 to 10 days minimum depends, it completely depends on the sensitivity of your dog's gut. It can be a longer period as well, but a minimum of 7 to 10 days. Start with 75% of old food, 25% of new, then half and half, and then 25% of old and 75% of new, and then fully transition to new food. So this, because sudden switch is something that would definitely cause diarrhea, gas. Their gut is not prepared for the new food, and doesn't matter what food it is. Then last meal of the day is best kept reasonably early, like around 7 to 8 p.m., depending on your puppy's bedtime. But if your puppy is prone to again bile vomiting and all in the morning, then it can be a late, like a small snack or a small fruit in the night. Uh, okay, so one more thing for the large and giant breed dogs here. I mean, keep your puppy on 3 meals a day until at least 6 to 8 months, because their joints are like growing rapidly, and too large meals create temporary like calcium and energy spikes that can interfere with bone development. So you can keep them on 3 smaller meals to spread the load. It would be gentler on their joints. So yeah, this was on the frequency. Okay. So how much food does my puppy need? This is again one question that we get asked in every masterclass. So the honest answer is it depends on the puppy, but I'm going to give you a framework that you can use, and you can also use a tool that I have just put on the in the chat box. It will give you the right answer. So if you're feeding kibble, obviously the back tells you, it's printed right there. Like follow it, adjust based on what you see. The hard work is already kind of done for you. Don't be scared of all these numbers and calculations. Okay, we have already done the calculations for you. But for home cook, like I said, it has to be calculated, and there are 2 steps to it. This is only for your knowledge. You should know how to, get there. So first is figuring out the calories, like the calories that your dog puppy needs every single day. So we use something called daily energy requirement, or DER, and it's based on resting calories. And the resting calories is nothing but, let's say your dog is lying around doing nothing. There is a certain set of calories that your puppy needs for just functioning. So that's the resting energy calories. And then it has to be multiplied for growth. So for most growing puppies under 4 months, you multiply the resting calories by 3. So like I said, right, 3 times of what the resting body needs. And for puppies in 4 to 12 months, or even longer for large breeds, this would be multiplied by 2. But we've already done those calorie calculations for you in the tool. And step 2 would be then figuring out, okay, calories you got, but then how much food to feed. Kibble, you already know it's on the back. But for a home cooked food, so let's say chicken, rice, vegetables kind of home cooked food, that would be around 120 calories per 100 grams of food you're feeding, right? So for 1 kg food, that would be 1200 calories. So a puppy needs, let's say, 700 calories a day. He would eat roughly around 500 grams of food. Then spread this across appropriate number of meals. So 2, 3, 4 meals, whatever. But we've done the hard work. Simply use the link, go to the tool, put in all your puppy's details, and it will just give you the calories. It will give you also, it will also give you how much food to feed. It will also tell you how much kibble to feed as well. So you can use that instead of going through all this. You can also refer to the table here as well. This also gives you a rough estimate of, depending on your dog's weight, how much food to feed. Again, the numbers are a starting point, right? You also need to make adjustments basis the body condition score as well, right? This is something, do this every week or every 2 weeks. Every week for maybe a large breed dog, every 2 weeks for a small medium based dog. 3 quick things to check here. First is the ribs of your dog. Just run fingers along your puppy's rib cage, like you should be able to feel each rib clearly. You should not see the ribs like sticking out of your puppy's body, because then they are underweight. You should not have to press through the layer of fat also to find them, right? You should be able to easily feel it. Not visible at rest, but just feel it. That's ribs. Second check is waist. So look at your puppy directly from above. Like behind the ribs, you should be able to see a definite tuck. Like the body should narrow down after the ribs. So if your puppy looks like a sausage from above, the puppy is a little overweight. If the waist is dramatically pinched, like it's dramatically narrowing down, then they are probably underweight. So these are the 2 checks. There's a third check as well called, I mean, look at your puppy from the side as well while they are standing. The belly should kind of slope upwards from the chest to the back legs. If it's a straight line, right, from the belly, that means they're carrying too much weight. And if there's a very severe tuck and the ribs are also visible, then they are underweight, and obviously they need more calories to maintain proper weight. So do this once a week or maybe once in 2 weeks, and then adjust the portions accordingly. So this is also one of the checks to look for while adjusting the amount of food to feed. Next, quickly, the different types of food, right? Whether kibble or home cooked. Shivani, next slide. Right. So, see, there's no perfect option. Each has trade-offs, and I'm going to be honest about all four. The first is dry kibble. The pros is obviously it's complete and balanced. It has all these essential nutrients that we just discussed in the right proportion, assuming you've chosen a good quality brand. Uh, Again, it has a long shelf life. It's cost effective. It's very easy to feed. You just open it up, pour, and your dog will eat it. But it's like highly processed. Like it is cooked at high temperatures. This can reduce heat sensitive nutrients, and then all the synthetic vitamins and minerals added back. So there's nothing natural kind of left in it. Some kibbles are also very high in starch because starch is needed to bind kibble together. Uh, Most of these formulas also contain preservatives and flavor enhancers and colorants and fillers and even low quality ingredients and low grade meat meals and unnamed animal byproducts. So while kibble is kind of practical and nutritionally complete on paper, the quality kind of varies massively. And I would not recommend kibble as a main meal or nutritional source. But if it's not possible for you to balance it at home, then kibble is a good option for a puppy. Second is wet canned food. Again, same issues as with kibble. Of course, it's higher in moisture, right? It helps with hydration. It's highly palatable as well. But the same issues that we discussed with kibble, poor quality ingredients and fillers and all that also exist here. Third is home cooked. The pros is that you will have full control over every ingredient. It's also excellent for dogs who are prone to sensitivities and allergies and intolerances. It's generally very palatable as well. Like your puppy will love you for it. It's obviously made from all the fresh ingredients. You can actually provide better moisture and good quality protein and good quality ingredients and whole food nutrients and even natural antioxidants from ingredients like fruits, vegetables, and meat and fish. But it's genuinely hard to get the balance right without guidance, right? The risk of deficiency is high unless it's like properly formulated by a nutritionist. So this is one problem. BARF diet or raw diet, I'm not sure how many of you have come across this. It stands for biologically appropriate raw food. That means you don't cook it, it's like raw. So raw meats and raw fish and all. Uh, Pros, I mean, they say that it mimics the ancestral diet and there are no preservatives and it's natural, but there is a real bacterial contamination risk here, both to your dog and your family, like salmonella and E. coli and listeria. These are all pathogenic bacteria which can harm your dog and even you. And in the Indian context, this becomes even more important because of a climate and infrastructure challenges. Like there's a lot of heat, humidity, there's inconsistent cold chain handling or cold chain infrastructure. Meat storage is an issue. Transport conditions are a problem. Hygiene standards are a problem. So all this can lead to increased contamination risk. So even though raw might sound natural, it needs extremely strict sourcing and storage and hygiene, which is why it's best to avoid it and I would not recommend it. My personal take here is a properly balanced home cooked diet is should be the first preference, like because you know exactly what's going in your dog's bowl. With home cooked, obviously you're not relying on ultra processed kibble and ultra processed pellets and all or preservatives and all of that. Or you can go for, if you want to balance it out with kibble, you can go half cooked food and half kibble as well. But the base I would suggest would be home cooked food. But if that's not possible for you, kibble you can use as a base and then add extra things like fruits, vegetables, and some meats and eggs and fish oil into it to kind of help make it better. So it's up to you to decide. Very quickly, I mean, this is something that's really important to discuss what mistakes pet parents usually make in the first year of their puppy's life. Shivani, can we go to the next slide, please? Right, it's a long list. Okay. I just want to like go through this quickly. First one, feeding only chicken and rice or curd and rice. I mean, this is great for recovery meal for a day or two for like an upset stomach, but over long term is deficient in calcium, is deficient in minerals, vitamins, and nutritionally very one tone, right? So this will require a lot of supplementation to be able to get nutritionally complete. This is great, but then there are you can make some additions like add organ meats and vegetables and some grains and eggs and all of that to make this complete. Second mistake is skipping the calcium or feeding wrong kinds of calcium supplements. Right, eggshell powder is a great source. It has higher calcium compared to other calcium sources available in the market. You can also make it at home. Like you can just wash eggshells and bake them dry at bake them dry and then just grind it into fine powder and add it. Or we also have eggshell powder available at pack store as well. So if you want to avoid all the hassle, you can get it from the store. Third is using random recipes of the internet. I mean, snack and treat recipes are great, but not the main meal recipes because again they are nutritionally deficient. It does not have all the essential nutrients present. So don't follow them blindly. Is what I'm saying. Fourth is cooking with salt and spices. Again, onion is something that is not good for them. The onion is something that will it has compounds that destroys red blood cells for dogs, and even spices can kind of irritate your dog's gut. Some spices are okay, like turmeric powder, some form of a little bit of coriander powder, or even cumin powder, like just a pinch or something for palatability is okay, but not excess. Again, like we discussed, sodium chloride is an essential mineral. Yes, I mean you can add a pinch of salt in home cooked food. For kibble, it's not needed. Kibble already has sodium chloride. But for home cook, don't overdo salt, spices at all. Then five is no protein rotation. If you're monotonously feeding only chicken to your dog, only egg or only paneer, then obviously the dog is going to get intolerant or allergic towards it. There'll be overexposure and there'll be problems over time. Mistake six, like estimating portions, like just eyeballing it kind of, right? Without using a kitchen scale or a measuring cup. That's important during puppy phase, like we discussed, right? Slow growth is obviously a problem, but very fast growth is also a problem. So you need to get the calories right. You need to get the grams of the food right as well. So use a kitchen scale. Mistake seven is switching from kibble to home cook suddenly, or switching from new ingredients suddenly, or even between two different kinds of kibble suddenly, which is obviously going to lead to diarrhea. So, do a slow transition and also maybe feed a probiotic for support. It's a long list. There's a mistake eight as well. Okay, so free feeding all day, like leaving food out for puppy to like kind of graze around whenever they want. It's obviously it's going to destroy their natural appetite cues. It even makes house training very hard, and then it's also kind of guarantees obesity. So there has to be scheduled meals and then properly like weighed out meals for puppies. Then switching to again adult food too soon before they become an adult dog. This is wrong because adult dog formulation is completely different. Their nutrient profile is completely different. The calcium is significantly lower in adult food compared to puppy food. So don't make the switch too fast. For small or medium sized breed dogs, the switch can happen at around 12 months or 13 months of age. For large or giant breed, it varies. Like for large breed dogs, around 18 months of age, and for giant breed dogs, around 24 months of age is when you need to switch to adult food. Then again, DIY calcium supplements without measuring the actual dosage. We've already calculated the. I mean, we just discussed how much calcium is required and how frequently to feed and how and what the calcium to phosphorus ratio should be. So don't freelance this. If you're feeding kibble, remember that it is already fortified with calcium, so extra is not needed. And if you're feeding half kibble, half home cooked, then feed half the calcium dosage only. Mistake 11, feeding too many treats or feeding treats that are high in calories. Both are problematic. Like training treats are wonderful, but many people end up with treats that make up 30, 40, even 50% of daily calories, right? And then the puppy becomes fussy towards the main meals. So keep the treats under 10 to 12% of daily calories, like use small training treats or like break them into half or go for treats that are only 2 to 3 calories per gram. So be careful of treats as well and look at the calories on the packet as well. Then, yeah, this is a classic feeding milk. So most puppies become lactose intolerant by 8 to 9 weeks of age. A lot of the pet parents don't know that, and milk is something that would therefore cause diarrhea, gas, bloating, and all of that. So if you want to give something milky, give plain unsweetened curd. That is much better. The fermentation kind of breaks down the lactose a bit, so that is much better than milk. Then again, the next one is slipping human food on the side. I mean, I know puppies kind of stare at you with those eyes while you eat. We've all been there, but this is something that usually leads to loose stools and obesity. And in some cases, it leads to pancreatitis as well, especially if the food is very high in fat. So train yourself, train your family, and even your house help to not feed human food off the dining table ever. Because once you start, there's no going back. And lastly, mistake number 14 is changing food every day. Like some parents think that variety means, different recipe every meal. But the puppy's gut microbiome is something that will not be able to keep up with the sudden changes. So, I mean, they develop digestive issues, they become picky eaters. You will also become exhausted with this constant change. Variety simply means that you make changes every week or every couple of weeks, not like every meal or every day. So, yeah, I mean, we are at the end of the session. It took a little longer than expected, but there's a lot of ground to cover. Um, Again, toxic food, most of you already probably know these toxic food items. Chocolate, right? Never feed it to your dog. It contains theobromine, which dogs cannot metabolize, and it can lead to heart arrhythmia and seizures in dogs as well, especially dark chocolate. Grains and raisins also cause acute kidney failure, so never feed it to your dog. Onion in raw form, again, this is something that destroys red blood cells. Even garlic in excess is a problem. But some dog parents kind of feed 1 clove of garlic as a dewormer. It's not really very effective to keep the ticks, fleas, and parasites away. But in excess, garlic is also not good. Xylitol, which is an artificial sweetener, again, this is something that's toxic to dogs. Macadamia nuts, this is not that readily available in India, but this is also something that causes weakness, tremors, vomiting. You should know this. Very importantly, cooked bones of any kind, they are not good because they splinter into sharp fragments and can even perforate the gut. Like I've seen this happen. So if you want to feed bones, go for dehydrated bones that are available in the market. But those also need to be supervised. Like dehydrated are also not 100% safe, but cooked bones are absolutely a big no. Again, then alcohol and caffeine, these are severe central nervous system. I mean, they create central nervous system depression. So keep this away from puppies too, and even dogs too. Then raw bread dough, the yeast in this kind of ferments in the warm, moist environment, which is like there in India. And uh, this is something that, again, the stomach can like swell dangerously and cause bloating, which is very dangerous for dogs. So these are all the items to like keep away from your puppy at all times. So, okay, that was this. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Let me leave you with these 5 things that I mean, if you forget everything else, will this will keep you up on the right track. One is Puppies are different from adult dogs, like feed for growth. First 12 months and 18 to 24 months for large breed dogs, right? This is the building phase. So make sure that the meals are properly balanced. Build every bowl from that 50, 25, 15, 10 formula that we discussed, like half meat, quarter carbohydrate, 15% vegetables, and 10% or less of fats, depends on your puppy's tolerance. Then calcium is important. This is missing from home cooked diet, and it should be 1.2 is to 1 of calcium to phosphorus ratio. Then measure portions, weigh your dog weekly, judge by body condition score as well. We've discussed the ribs, waist, tuck. And lastly, I mean, if you want to have a properly, balanced diet for your dog, then work with a nutritionist for a long-term plan and invest early. So yeah, that's the end of it. Happy to take up the questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Arpita. Thank you. Like this has been really detailed. I've been learning so many things as well myself. We're gonna start with the Q&A in 1 second, but before that, I think we have a question for you guys that Arpita has prepared. So the same thing as the earlier question that we've had. It is an MCQ. Answer in A, B, C, or D. Do not try to unmute. Do not try to sort of say the whole thing out loud in the text. Fastest fingers win. And if you win it, you can win a 500 rupee coupon that you can use across anything on the pack store. We have a lot of puppy specific helpful things that you can get for your puppies. So please do sort of be ready, and I will have the question on the screen now. Okay. Okay, the question is DHA is especially DHA is from omega 3. DHA is especially important for puppies because it supports A, brain and retinal development, B, calcium absorption, C, oxygen transport, and D, teeth whitening. I will just see the chat. I hope everyone has been paying attention. I think Arpita has definitely covered this during the class. I see Radha, Krishna say A, Pramod say A, Akshay saying A, Aparna saying A. A lot of A's. No, anyone would like to wager like a B or a C or a D? I think everyone is sticking to A, and I think everyone has gotten it right. The answer is A, which is brain and retinal development, which makes omega 3 absolutely essential for your dogs. Aparna is trying a B now. No, so the answer is A. And I think the first person to get it right was Radha Krishna. Congratulations. I will be sending you a message. I'll be sending you a phone number on which you can just drop a hi, introduce yourself, and we'll tell you how to claim your goodies in a second. But before that, just introducing who the goodie is from. And okay, great. So the second partner who has helped us bring this session to you free of cost and also given that 500 rupee coupon for the puppy is Honest. Honest is an in-house wellness brand, and it has been curated by Arpita. So as she said, as she explained, omega 3 is absolutely crucial for most dogs, and they have the thing with omega 3 also is that it is not usually available in our dogs' regular diets. You usually need to give your dogs either krill, algae, or small fatty fishes for that omega content to come across. Omega is important for skin and coat health. If you're seeing a little bit of shedding, if they're constantly going through skin issues, if they have joint or mobility issues, if you have a puppy and you want to boost their heart health and brain development, omega 3 is absolutely crucial. And the reason we started this is because through Arpita we understood how important omega 3 is, and also how in the market today you don't get a lot of omega 3 fish oils that either have the required omega 3 concentration or they are mixed with a lot of different things, and it doesn't sort of fulfill the requirement. Right, so this is why we started Honest, and the first product that we came out with was Honest, was omega 3 fish oil, and we are very proud that it has the highest concentration of omega 3 in the market, and it has EPA and DHA that Arpita already explained in the highest ratio, 18:12, like the most optimal ratio. Besides this, two things that also set Honest apart is, first of all, The fish oil it only contains sardines. So sardines like farmed from the coast of Kerala, and tocopherol. Tocopherol is essentially a vitamin E, and it just helps keep the fish oil fresher for longer periods of time. Besides this, one thing that we are trying to do with Honest, as well as with all the products that we put on the pack store, is to ensure that they meet the highest standards, coming close to human standards. So what we have done is, our manufacturer is FSSAI certified. Besides this, we have done all the quality tests from a third party lab, so it is unbiased and it is put up on our store, right? So if you want to actually go and see the claim that I just made about the 18:12 ratio, 33% omega concentration, we have a third party who has done these tests, and we have put those tests up, right? And this is something that we are trying to do across any product that you see on the pack store. So while Radhakrishna has won that 500 rupee coupon and he can use it on the pack store, if anyone else would also like to get the Honest omega-3 bottle, you can use the code puppy20 to get 20% off. This code is available only till tomorrow evening, so if you want it, do it sooner if you want to use the code. I think the only sort of disclaimer I would give over here is, Arpita, you can help me out here, but I think this supplement can only be used if your puppy is more than 4 months of age, right?
Right.
Okay, so if your puppies are less than 4 months of age, guys, not for your puppy just yet. After, maybe once they turn 4, but after that, if your puppy is older than 4 months, please do consider. And I think with that, we can begin with the questions. So if you have any questions, I would recommend putting them in the chat box. There are a few already, so I'll give you 2 more minutes if you have any questions to put it in the chat box, after which I'll close down the chat to ensure all the ones that are already posted are addressed. Okay, let's go. I think Akshay was explaining his puppy's diet. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, Chandana, for sharing. The first question is from Kriti, who is asking, would you suggest adding pumpkin oil to a 3-month-old puppy's diet? And if so, how?
So, yeah, I mean, you can feed a pumpkin seed oil, but then because it's only a 3-month-old puppy, right? Make sure that you're doing a very slow transition, and you're feeding us very small amount. So it depends on what breed it is. If it's a large breed, then you can feed 2 ml as well. But if it's like a medium breed or a smaller breed, then start with like a 0.5 ml or 1 ml sort of. You have a lot of, like cold pressed pumpkin seed oils available in the market. So go for any organic cold pressed kind of a brand. That's good enough. I mean, pumpkin seed oil, but I would suggest a hemp seed oil. It's a much better source and a higher source for omega-6 compared to a pumpkin seed oil. But yeah, it's up to you which you want to pick.
I think we also have CBD's hemp seed oil on the pack store, Kriti. In case you're interested, you go check it out and use use puppy20 to get 20% off for it. Shrisha is asking, I have an indie puppy. What should I feed him? How many eggs can I feed in a day? I think what should I feed him has been covered extensively for the past 1 hour or so. So I hope that was helpful. If not, go back and go through. But how many eggs can I feed him in a day?
Right. See, I mean, for a medium-sized dog, you can feed 1 egg every day. I mean, depends on how the overall diet is kind of structured. If it's not very high in animal-based protein source, let's say chicken and all, then ideally you should feed 1 egg per day to your dog. If you have been feeding chicken or fish or any other animal-based protein source, then alternate days, 1 egg is also good enough.
Okay, same question from Alan for a 4-month-old toy poodle.
Toy poodle, right, really teeny tiny dogs. So maybe half an egg should be okay for them per day, not more than that. Or just, start with egg whites if your dog is not used to it, and then start introducing like half a oak yolk or something. But not every day because dogs can get intolerant or sensitive towards eggs over time. So ideally like twice a week or 3 times a week.
Okay. Ajay is saying, do you have a veg diet plan for puppies?
See, I have formulated veg diet plans for dogs in the past, but anyway, like I would not recommend it at all. What I would recommend in case if you have, I mean, you cannot source meat because of certain constraints, then go for a kibble diet for puppies, or formulate or get formulated with kibble and home cooked, like kind of a mix of two, but not purely vegetarian home cooked food.
Okay. Radha Krishna is asking how much of chicken or fish can I feed a 4-month-old poodle?
So see, I mean, like I said, right, if you can go to that slide, 50% should be the meat base, or at least 30 to 40% should be the meat base of your dog. And then the rest can be grains and fat and vegetables and fruits. If you want to see exactly how much, then you'll have to go use that tool, that the link that we've put it here.
I
Is
have
there?
I have pinned it in the chat, Radhakrishna. You'll have to add your puppy's exact sort of weight and all of these other things to sort of, and then the tool will tell you how much it's required. Okay, the next question is again from Radhakrishna. Does sugars from watermelon or coconut water make 4-month toy poodle aggressive? No. I think I will, as a behaviorist, I can tell you that no, that does not happen. But like Arpita, is it possible that coconut water or watermelon can give them a sugar high?
Yeah, definitely. It will. From watermelon in particular, coconut water, I mean, the sugar content is not that high, but watermelon, yes, definitely, especially if they have a little too much, then that can happen and they can become a little overactive and but not aggressive.
Yeah. So it should not really, you will see sugar high will give hyperactivity, not aggression as well. So keep that in mind. Also, they could be a little bit more sort of, you'll see a lot more of zoomies and things like that, but not that. Also, I think I've been hearing a lot about watermelon bean. Even for humans bean, there have some things have been mixed
Yeah.
in. So would be a good idea to skip it for this season. Kriti is asking, how about a mix of home cooked diet and kibble?
Yeah, perfect, Kriti. I mean, especially if you're not sure if you're able to kind of balance the home cooked diet completely, then it's better to go for a mix of home cooked diet and kibble. Kibble, but go for like a good quality one like NND Famina or Origin. These are like well formulated kibble brands. That, and then you in home cooked also don't go for like completely vegetarian if that's possible for you. Add some fish and chicken and grains and vegetables and all that. Yeah, but it's a good mix to go for puppies.
Okay. Ram is asking, I have a 4-month-old puppy. What vegetables, fruits can I feed him? Also, we're a pure veg family, so how do I curate a balanced diet?
So for a 4-month puppy, especially if it's a large, extra large breed dog, it's really important to get all the nutrients right for them to grow in a healthy manner, right? So if it's vegetarian, we'll go for at least half of kibble, at least half. If I mean, the problem is that a lot of puppies over time get fussy towards kibble. Even if you keep changing brands, they start and keep being fussy towards it. They prefer home cooked more, at least in my experience. So, I mean, there's a high chance that eventually your puppy might not want to eat the kibble at all. But at least from the get go, like since your puppy is 4 months of age, at least till 6, 7, 8 months of age, make sure that your puppy is having half of kibble, but kibble from animal based protein, like with chicken or any other protein source, which is not vegetarian. And then other half can be veg, but in veg, make sure that you're adding some form of, protein high ingredients like paneer or a little bit of curd, then the dals and quinoa and all of that. So those will also give some extra nutrients and protein to your dog.
Sriram,
Yeah.
because we are short on time, if you have any follow-up question or response to what Arpita said, please leave it in the chat box. I've opened the chat box. You can drop it there and we'll come back to it. Chandana is asking, can ripe sweet mango be fed to 5-month-old Shih Tzu and in what quantity?
A significant moderation. So, see, we've discussed 15% of vegetables and fruits of the weight of the, food. So, let's say for a Shih Tzu, maybe Shih Tzu might eat 300, 400 grams of food. So just like 15% of that would be the entirety of vegetables and fruits. And then mango would be an even smaller portion. So maybe max 20 grams of mango for your dog, like max. Uh, but again, don't feed it in very regularly because Shih Tzus are prone to dental issues and mangoes are quite high in sugar content.
Akshay is asking, when should I start treats? My vet recommended to use it after 3 months. Some say we can start by 2 months.
You should ideally start after 3 months. Why? Because a lot of the treats in the market are not tested for bacterial contamination. So, puppies before 3 months of age, their gut microbiome is very vulnerable. So, it's better to start after 3 months of age only. But if you can cook something at home, right? We have treat recipes, Shivani, in the on the
Yeah,
blogs,
yeah.
right?
So Akshay, we do have a lot of recipes on the pack library. They're free of cost. You can check them out, and these are recipes of like home cooked single ingredient things that you can make for your dog. So you can check those out as well. And in case again coming from a behavioral perspective, if you're using treats to sort of like to for training, if that's what you're looking for, then I would recommend using their diet and training before their meals. So before their meals, if this is for training, whatever you're doing, do it half an hour before their actual meal time and use their food, right? So that way you're not adding a lot more calories to their diet, and your puppy usually responds better because by that time they are usually hungrier, so they will be more responsive. Okay, the next question is from Aparna. Would you suggest giving jowar bhakri to his diet with all the other home cooked food? I have a 6.5 to 7 month old caravan mixed male puppy.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, see, millets are good, but we discussed, right? Carbohydrates should be like around 25% or less for your puppy. So as long as you're feeding like 50% of the base as animal-based protein sources, or at least kibble, which is animal-based, right? So jawar bhakri is a good addition, or any other millet, as long as your dog is able to tolerate it, but significant moderation.
Okay. The next question is from, so Sriram is saying mine is a toy poodle. I think that was to his earlier question. Um, Radha Krishna is asking what to feed for dental health for a 4 month old toy poodle.
To chew on.
For dental
Okay.
health. Yeah.
Right. I mean, to start with, it is better to start with something like frozen carrots, and then maybe you can slowly graduate towards other, even like chicken jerkies and all for a 4 month toy poodle that would work as a chew only. And then maybe you can slowly go on to feed other harder chews in the market, but not the bone ones immediately, like not your chicken feet and all. Because I mean, first of all, it's a very small breed, so we have limited bones available in the market for like tiny breeds. Non-bone chews are available, but again, those are also like very long and quite hard. Even yak chews would not be ideal till your dog is like around 7 to 8 months of age. After that, you can introduce those, but till then, like vegetable sticks frozen would be a much ideal option.
Okay, I think that was it with all of the questions. Before we wrap up, first of all, Arpita, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. I think this is information that everyone needs to know at this age to sort of start their pet parenting journey on like a good note. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for joining in as well. Thank you for taking that time to understand. As you could see today, clearly there is so much more that we need to know about our puppy's nutritional needs. So I hope you found it helpful. We'll be sharing the recording with you. So in case you have like, if you want to go back, I hope you made notes, but if not, you can go through the recording later. And lastly, if you found this session helpful, please consider leaving a review for Arpita on the link that I have shared in the chat box. I will just pin it for everyone. So this is a link, so this is on Google. It helps us reach more pet parents and help more pet parents like yourself and more other dogs. So please do consider taking 2 minutes to leave a review. And I think with that, we can wrap up. Arpita, any last words for all the puppy parents who have joined in today?
No, I mean, it can be a little overwhelming with all the, calculations and the formulas that we've gone through, but uh, just like use the tool to get the calories and the weight of the food right. And you can also, like Shivani mentioned, it's recorded and the recording will be shared with you. So you can go over the concepts again in case it was overwhelming in the first go.
Okay, all right. Thank you everyone for joining in again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening, of the weekend, and thank you so much, Arpita, again.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.